The cat becomes a familiar totem to the Egyptian people. They call him Meow. Yeah, I'm not kidding. They call him Meow, and transform him into a witness to their suffering. Even the poorest Egyptian never fails to set aside a portion of his meager meal for the household cat that he loves, and eventually will come to worship as a god. Now, with the founding of the 22nd dynasty at Bubastis, the status of the cat begins to rise. The feline's service to the Egyptians in the past secures the cat the affection of royalty and common people, and the cat gets a promotion. He is now given the task to watch over the temples because of his resemblance to the lioness. The cat is on the way to becoming a major Egyptian deity. This is where the figure of Bastet, or Bast, comes in, the cat-headed goddess of maternity, symbolic of all that is feminine. Now, Bastet, or Bast, originates in the Nile Delta region, at first as a lion-headed goddess of the sunset, symbolic of the fertilizing force of the sun's sacred rays. There's a darker side to Bast at this point. She's an instrument of vengeance. She's the daughter of the sun god Ra. Later, Bast's image grows tamer and becomes the cat that carries the sacred sun, or a cat-headed woman who wears on her breastplate the lion image of her former self. Bastet, or Bast, rules pleasure and dancing, music and joy. So she starts out as a goddess of vengeance, but then becomes a goddess of joy. Bubastis, which means the house of Bast, is the center of her worship. The place has great celebrations that are held in Lower Egypt. This is the eastern branch of the Nile. Boatloads of worshippers were greeted by pleasant flute melodies as they disembarked for worship services that would combine with a massive trade fair. Followers of Bastet, or Bast, believe that in return for this reverent celebration, the goddess would bestow upon them both mental and physical well-being. As part of Bastet, or Bast worship, Egyptians honored live cats and decked out these cats with gold earrings and other fine jewelry. The priests of Bast would watch the behavior of these sacred cats, from the slightest purr, the faintest meowing, the discreet stretch or alteration of posture, and then the priests would draw their predictions or prophecies. Now, Egyptian women are, obsessed with cats. They would try to resemble the cat goddess in the strangeness of her gaze, the slanting of her eyes, her supple loins, her noble posture, and her animal abandon. Now, to kill a cat, even accidentally in Egypt, you were liable to get the death penalty. It is a sacred animal. In the case of a cat's natural death, the owners, the inhabitants of the household, would shave their eyebrows and lament loudly for hours, if not days. The eyes of the beloved cat would be piously closed, its whiskers firmly pressed down against its lips, and the animal would then be wound up in mummy wrappings. There are, or were, precise rules that would govern the cat funeral, depending on the region of Egypt. Fragments of cloth replaced the eyes that are now closed forever. Two small artificial ears stood up from the cat's head in order to give the appearance of attentiveness to the now immobile face. Turquoise collars were then placed around the neck of the sacred beast. Then embalming or mummification. Depending on how wealthy the departed cat's masters were, the feline was either buried in the earth or placed in a sarcophagus. There were special cat cemeteries, for example, at Beni Hassan, that contain hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of embalmed and mummified felines. Now, the Sumerians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, unlike the Egyptians, they don't like cats. They were overly hostile to the few wild and domestic cats in their region. It's because of their fear of evil spirits. They made the cat the object of, well, fear and hatred. The Sumerians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians were in fact the greatest inventors of amulets and talismans. And they believed that a cat, the color of night, a black cat, was the most disturbing, disquieting omen of all. So the dread of the black cat that starts with the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Sumerians, still lingers on today. All right, now let's get to the Hebrews.